Yeah, now you can use it.
Okay, sir. I hope I am audible and visible, and the screen is also visible to all of you. Okay, thank you so much, Anjali. So in last class, we discussed about validity. We discussed about item analysis. We understood what item discrimination, what is difficulty index, how to draw, or what actually ICC is talking about. We also understood how many types of validity. So anyone have any doubt from the last topic we discussed so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So let's today we will be studying the reliability, which is the part of your module unit 3, and also very important topic for the understanding of how testing and measurement is trustable, or how much you can depend on these tools. So reliability, in general term, we call it as the consistency of scores. So reliability or the consistency of score is something which is being maintained the constancy. We assume it or we say it is a reliable or a trustable. So reliability refers to the consistency of scores obtained by the same persons when they are re-examined with the same test on different occasions, or with different sets of equivalent items, or under other variable examining conditions. So as per Anastasia, she has covered these three areas under the one definition, but basically it means the consistency of score. That is, if a test is being administered today and after 15 days it should reveal yield the same or similar responses, then only we call it as a reliable. So statistically, reliability is defined as the ratio of the variation of the true scores and the variation of the observed score. Can any of you tell me what is true score? We studied in last class. Is anyone able to recall what we did on Friday? It's like the 2 days were in between, so it's gone. Okay, so we discussed about the true variance, and error scores, and during that time only we understood what actually how these scores were defined. So what happened when we talk about in terms of mathematics or statistically, we discuss the term reliability in the concept of the ratio. I hope you all understand the term ratio, the numerator denominator wala part, and how it is being ratio and proportion we have all have studied in our 9th 10th standards. So it's all about how much variation is there in the true score and the variation in the observed score. Okay, the expected and the observed part, again, that is to be considered. Or also it is known as equivalently 1 minus the ratio of the variation of the error scores and the variation of the observed score. This is the same formula we use usually during the concept of the reliability. So here I am going to give you a small example from the logo of RPRIT. This example was told to me by sir only, that if you see, can all of you see the logo here? Either yes, no
Yes.
would work. Yeah. So can you tell me what is written in this logo?
Rabindrik Psychotherapy Research Institute Trust and Tamsoma Jyotirmaya.
Jyotirgamaya.
Jyotirgamaya.
So, do you understand what does it mean? This line, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya. We usually pray in this way. Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya.
Yeah, I think tamas what I recall is
Hmm.
tamas means darkness.
Okay.
So this is a prayer in which it is saying that like darkness be can be ended by the light. Jyotirgamaya means
From
this is
Gamaya going there, na? So
yeah,
it's light, moving towards light.
yeah, from darkness towards light. Yes.
Correct. Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. So it says na Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Then later on is Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So it says ki from tamas is andhakar, is darkness. From darkness to brightness, and then we say it's all about how from negative part to the positive. It starts from the asoma sadgamaya, like in this way it proceeds, but for this line tamsoma jyotirgamaya, from darkness to brightness, mrityurma amritam gamaya, it's from the death to the eternity, amrit की तरफ लेके जाए हमें. So that's what we say. So if we talk about this in the context of reliability, so it says tamso means the error. If we take the darkness as error, ma means no, jyoti means the truth, gamaya, so that we can remove the error variance. So ultimately what we are saying, we can like we say na, from error to remove it. If you are saying you are moving from something negative to positive, to ultimately you are leaving the negative behind, you are trying to uh, eliminate that error, you are trying to eliminate the negativity. So in the similar pattern, you can understand from the logo also. So it says that you can remove the error variance, the tamas, the error. You can remove that by like from going into the. You can remove the darkness by going through the brightness. So this was one of the example told to me by sir from his logo already. So each score has some true score and error score. Score means your observed data, and some errors are randomized and some are fixed. Can any of you will be able to explain me what is the randomized error and what is the fixed error? Is there any chance of having a randomized error, or is there any chance of having a fixed error?
Errors are two types, na? One
Hmm.
randomized error and another is systemic error.
Okay.
Randomized error is by chance.
Okay.
It we cannot do much about that
Hmm.
because when it
Example.
mm,
Things
like
become easier when you give examples.
it's like, for example, suppose we are taking mathematics examination. Okay,
Okay.
so out of, let me say 50 students are taking. So out of that 50 students, two of them are making mistakes. Rest all have done it correctly. So
Okay.
it could be maybe they forgot the thing or something. Anything could have happened that then made them make
Hmm.
that mistake. Okay, so it
Okay.
was a random mistake that has occurred. Now, fixed mistake is a systemic mistake. Okay,
Hmm.
now the same examination is there, mathematics examination.
Hmm.
One question out of that is being made wrong by everybody.
Hmm.
When it was looked into that thing, the question
Hmm.
that was given by the teacher
Hmm.
was different by what was printed there because there was a sign error
Okay.
has occurred, and that has made the mistake to occur happen in everybody. So that has become a fixed error. That is a systemic error that could have been checked up and that could have been avoided, but
Okay.
that was not observed. So that thing has happened.
So you cannot remove the randomized error.
We
You
can
cannot avoid. Sorry, not remove. You cannot avoid the randomized error.
we
Or yes, you can
no,
avoid.
we cannot avoid it, but what we can do is if we increase the sample size, what will happen, that becomes negligible.
Okay, but when you were talking about the mathematical question, how the sample size came in between? Okay, so yes, you were correct. So randomized error and the systematic error. So yeah, randomized error is by chance, and fixed error is which is being stated already, and which is supposed to be the error made by everyone. And the randomized error is by chance. Not everyone will be having that error. Most of them will have the error. So yes, that's what Shashi has already told to us. Further, so now we'll be going to technicality, the technical approach of types of the reliability. We all are aware, we all have understood this in earlier classes as well, but we'll be just doing a quick recall of what test and retest reliability is all about. So
Ayushi, you can ask them about the confounding error. Dear students, do you know what is called confounding? Ayushi, you please unmute.
hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, yes, you are audible now. I'm asking you
Sorry.
can ask them about the confounding error so they can understand.
Uh, yes, sir. I'll ask us in between. I don't know what happened, but just let me. So I hope I am audible. Farah, are you there?
Yes, you are
Yes, ma'am,
audible.
you are all. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, you can ask the question about the compounding. So wanted to know from the students whether they know about it or not.
Okay, so do you know about the confounding? Sir is asking about the confounding error. Hello. I guess there is some network which is on. Hello. I hope now I am audible and visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry for the network glitch. I don't know how I was just out of the meeting. So Sukhsiddhi is answering any variable apart from dependent variable affecting independent variable is confounding.
Ulta.
Versus you what it is?
Any variable other than the variable which we are studying, that are confounding variables, and that can affect our study.
Like
That is what is called as noise.
okay.
Suppose what we are actually let us say we want to study what is the ability of our ears to hear, how far we can hear it, okay, or how less we can hear it. Now
Okay.
uh, only one track sound is being given, that can be easily distinguishable. Okay. Suppose there is so many sounds are there. Out of that, we are putting one word and saying, can you hear that word? So that sound along with the sound that is coming, that is called as confounding uh, variables, which is affecting our study of that one word which is to be heard.
Okay. So I guess this is the same thing mentioned by Sukhsiti, no? Any variable apart from acha, dependent variable, affective independent variable. So she said the same thing, Varshaji. Any variable apart from due to the external factors. Yes. Extraneous variables, which we usually mention
Yes,
under the control.
yes, control.
The control. Yeah. That's So let's get back to what we were discussing, the reliability part. So test reliability, internal consistency. In internal consistency, we discuss about the split half, rule-on formula, Coder-Richardson and coefficient alpha, and then the alternate form and the scorer reliability. So we'll be discussing one by one each of them. Uh, See, in this presentation you will find a small hypothetical data and also its presentation on Excel. So because I asked this also to Farah, and then she told me that because you will be getting a practicum in this in the later part of the course, like in the last module, so we'll be avoiding it for now, otherwise it might create confusion. So this presentation would be provided to you in the later meantime. Whenever you are free, you can try your hands with the help of the presentation. So first we'll be discussing the test retest reliability. So test retest reliability is it says that can any of you would like to tell me what is test retest reliability? Johnny, yes papa. Isn't it like we discussed in the first day? Can anyone? What is test retest reliability? Acha, let's can any of you acha, somebody is saying something. Yeah, all the interval 6 months, one test and retest on the similar test at the interval of 6 months. Sukhsiti, is it required 6 months? Is it necessary? Or 15 days, fortnight? What would should be the duration of time interval in a test and the retest of the same test? What should be the time interval or the duration? Yes, 15 days is also possible. But in the first place, why you mentioned about the 6 months? Any logic behind it? Okay. So test retest says once you can't administer one test and then re-administering the same test, and it should be giving you the same answers, then you call it as a test retest reliability. And then we talks about what actually internal consistency is. So internal consistency, so it says that internal that's scorer, wait. So internal consistency talks about the consistency of results across items within a test. So internal, for example, like all of you remember the items of NeoPI, the NeoFFI, or even if not Neo FFI, we have talked about earlier tests also. So aren't those items were related to each other? We talked about this in earlier class also. No? In most of the tests, we seek this, whether the items are related. Achha, can any of you tell me what will happen if items are not related to each other? What if first item is measuring something different part, the other item is measuring something different part? What will happen? Why items should be interrelated? Anyone? You can write in the chat section as well. See, until unless you participate in the class, it would be difficult. Content validity. That's so nice, Sukhsiddhi. Acha, please explain this. Why content validity? Varshali, do you remember this content validity concept?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that?
Content validity says that the content for which we are talking about,
Okay.
that content should be there. Now, content validity,
Hmm.
under content validity, we have concurrent validity and predictive validity. So, with the help of the content, we are able to concurrent validity would be talking about how much it is related with other tests and all. And predictive validity, with that, with the help of that thing, we can predict what would be the outcome of this test. So this will tell you that how much our content is talking about what we are working on.
Okay, that's okay. But my question was why items related internally is required or is important. Why we cannot construct items which one is measuring certain type and the other is measuring other type. Why we cannot construct it? Why the items are should be interrelated?
Um, it
Yes.
it is because suppose so validity is basically uh, anything which we are measuring. The test is like anything which we are purporting to measure. The test is measuring the same
Hmm.
thing. So
Mm-hmm.
so when we are measuring any particular measure or anything, so uh, the items will be that will be similar, like it will be asking about the same thing at the end. It may be their subcomponents, but
Hmm.
about the same thing.
Okay.
So suppose if we are talking about personality, so
Hmm.
the questions will be related among each other because we will be asking about personality only if the test is purporting that we are measuring personality by this test.
Okay.
Ma'am, actually, a test, see, if we are constructing a test, we want to know about, suppose, like, for example, personality only we want
Hmm.
to know. So what is the fun in asking about how many hours you sleep? Or
Hmm.
let me say, where did you go yesterday? What would
Hmm.
that help me to tell about the personality here? So,
Hmm.
so the things which I want to know with this test, I should have those things there, and definitely those things will be related one after another with each other. Then only that will completely tell me about my construct on which I am working on. Unrelated things reduces the efficacy or efficiency of that test to measure the uh,
Correct.
quality of the thing which we want to measure.
Correct. Anjali and Vaishali, you both are correct in this regard. When we will in our next module, when we will not in the next module, the next unit, when we will discussing about how the construction of the questionnaire takes place. So the basic point in the procedure of item construction we follow is the way how the items are being produced in front of the testee or the one who is supposed to be administered, on whom the test is supposed to be administered. Because sometimes what happens if you are asking one point in the initially and one point at the end, it won't give an idea of what the test wants to measure, and also it will break the tempo of the person who is administering it. So when we will be talking about how the questionnaires are constructed, so we make sure that it goes in a pattern that first thing that is the part of the initial part should be asked in the very first 2 3 statements, and then later on it should be progressed in the other area, though it should be related but would be progressing in the upcoming items, like the same way we understood from the BDI. In the bags depression inventory, we have followed that there was certain sort of pattern which was followed in the administration, whether the questions were asked regarding the sleep or it was related to appetite, whatever it is, it has followed a pattern. So yes, that's very important while you are while you are constructing items for the questionnaire. So what we do in the internal consistency, so the very common way is the split half technique. We all understood it. So split half is like dividing whole items into two halves. Either the one way is the odd or even item, like choosing odd and choosing even. The other way is split half, that is a 50-50 are being divided, and then you are administering the reliability. So this is a rule on formula that I have already mentioned to use while measuring the internal consistency. The other way is the Kuder-Richardson and coefficient alpha. The KR21 formula is the current one which we use, and the other one is the coefficient alpha or the KR20. So what happens in KR20? What is dichotomy? So we have discussed the dichotomy in earlier class also. Dichotomy says that you usually have the two variables working, either male, female, or the two components only, yes, no. So whenever you are having the dichotomous, then we go for this. So it has also been mentioned that KR20 and alpha coefficients are same coefficients. However, it calls KR20 or KR20 when it is used for dichotomous score, like when the items are dichotomously scored, and it is called alpha when it is used for polytomously, that more than two, there is no dichotomy, more than two score. So alpha is a general version of the Kuder-Richardson coefficients or the equivalence. So this is the same thing I was talking about. I thought that we could have administered this data, but you can do it by yourself. What I have done, I'll let me explain it in a bit. So I have collected 5 items. So because I was administering the KR20, KR20, so as it has said that only you can administer it on the dichotomous part. So for the dichotomy, I took these 7 questions like this addition. You can all of you can see this data. I am explaining it. You can do it by yourself also. Just yes or no would help me. Can you see the data in front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So these 2 plus 3, 4 plus 2, 5 plus 6, 9 plus 2, 10 plus 3 are my question statements. Okay. So, and these Ayushi, Abhishek, Aishwarya. See, first Ayushi is me only. I have given this, like I have administered this on me also. And other are the random names I just thought of coming into my mind. So just for the sake of example purpose. So this 1, 0, can any of you tell me what does this 1 and 0 stands up for? Is 2 plus 3 is 1 or 4 plus 2 is 0? Is it like this? These are scored?
1 for correct you have written and 0 for
0 for incorrect. So what it says? Like how many questions Ayushi has given correct? How many questions Ayushi has given correct?
3.
3. Right? So it's just that it's not about the total sum, it's just that how many answers the person has given correctly. So for the 2 plus 3 sum, Aishi couldn't give correct, Aishi was able to give correct answers, so I have scored it 1. But 4 plus 2 was not, so I have given 0. Similarly for the 5 plus 6 given 1, and for 9 plus 2 0, and 10 plus 3 1. So it is just coding, we call it coding. We usually code it into the quantification so that it makes things easier for us. So in the same pattern, all the students are being scored. So you can see the Dev is the one who has scored again.
Can you explain it once again? I got
Okay,
confused.
sure. Oh, okay. Where you are confused?
Yeah, that 2 plus 3 is so Ayushi has given 3 correct answers, right?
Right, yes.
And 2 incorrect answers.
Okay, yes.
Right. So then after that, I got confused.
Okay, so in the similar, see, are you able to understand how I have scored these two correct or
Yeah, yeah.
three?
Scoring is, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
there are
this is,
5 questions, and if they have answered correctly, they have got 1, and if they have answered incorrectly, they have got 0.
correct. So in the
Hmm.
similar pattern, all the other students are being scored. This is the coding
Yes.
pattern I have followed for 1 and 0. So this is the
Hmm.
same thing, not anything else I have
Yeah,
discussed
yeah.
so far. So
Hmm.
if I talk about any of the student like Ashwarya, she
Hmm.
has like Ashwarya has given 4 correct and 1 incorrect.
Yes.
So this is the pattern which we have seen. We have nothing to do. So we are just about to find out the internal consistency or the reliability using the
Hmm.
KR20. So as per the formula which says K divided by K minus 1, and this is the formula. So what K is here? So the first value is K, and which is the number of items. So we have already observed the number of test items is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because it was a 5 item scale. So we have the K key value 5. See, the formula we are using is, you can see this formula. If you're having some copy or something with you, you can write out this formula. We are utilizing this formula abhi aage tak. We will be doing this using the Excel. Okay, I hope you all, or either click a screenshot for you if you are not able to remember. K divided by K minus 1 into 1 minus sigma PQ square divided by sigma square. So for the K, we have got the value 5. So now we need to calculate P for each item. So P stands for proportion. Okay, so proportion of the sample who answered each item correctly. Because see, like I told you, na, why 1 or 0? Because the dichotomy is there. Na? Either a yes or a no would be there. Either something would be white and other would be black. So in the same pattern, if you are able to identify, like if you are able to say that 3 answers are correct, so you, and total items are 5, so you can easily identify that 2 are incorrect. You can easily say, like Anjali has already mentioned, ki is Aishi has given 3 correct answers and 2 is incorrect. So ultimately, if I would say the proportion of the correct scores for Ayushi would be 3 out of 5. Is it
Yes,
clear? Or
yes.
yeah, right? So in the same pattern, I'll be doing for the proportion. So to calculate the proportion of the sample who answered the items correctly, first we counted the number of ones for each item, like we have already done. And this gives the total number of students who answered the item correctly. See, here we are not working on the individuals. The
Okay.
reliability,
Yeah,
yeah,
we are working on items.
correct. See, reliability of individuals, why it is required in the very
Hmm.
first place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, we are supposed to get the reliability of the items. So we are measuring the proportion of the correct. So if I would say for the item number 1, that is 2 plus 3, how many correct responses are there?
4.
4.
4. Correct. And for the item 4th, how many correct responses?
3.
1, 2,
No,
2.
4, 2. Sorry. 2.
2.
Okay, right. So in the same pattern, I can say these are the proportions. So you can see in the green bar, these are the number of ones. You can see number of ones is these are the correct responses, right?
Yes, yes.
You
Understood.
can see. Now I have identified the proportion. Can any of you tell me how I identified this proportion? Like I have already mentioned this.
4 by
So,
7.
so why 7?
No, how many people were there? I did not
Correct.
number of
Correct.
people.
Yeah, see, yeah, here. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 individuals were there. And how many of them given correct answers? For the first item, 4 has given the correct answer, and there are 7 people. So you can easily identify the proportion is how many people, if you say in अगर percentage में निकालना होता, or in the proportion, the decimal version is the proportion, percentage में करते तो हम कर देते 100 वाला.
It's,
So if I would say, so 4 divided by 7, is it clear to everyone? So this is the same thing I have done in the green color. You can see 0.57, 0.42, 0.71. So these are the values of how many correct responses were given on each item. The 4, 3, 5, 2, 6. So for the item 10 plus 3, the last item, fifth item, most correct answers were given, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The highest proportion of answer giving is there in item number 6, the correct responses received. So now the next step for us, because see, sigma PQ, sigma or the summation of PQ, in mathematical term we call it sigma, so I am in the habit, the summation of PQ. So P and Q, P is the correct responses proportion. So if you are supposed to identify the wrong answered or the incorrect answers proportion, how you can find out?
Wrong answers is number of wrong answers by total number. 3 by 7.
Okay, very nice. And what would be the other way? This is
100.
the one way.
1 minus.
1 minus this.
Correct. 1 minus the proportion of the correct answers. So they are the same way. So next we need to calculate Q, that is for each item, the proportion of the sample who answered each item incorrectly. So since students either passed or failed each item, the sum would be P plus Q is equals to 1. The same point, I guess one of you mentioned, I forgot, I couldn't see who was the answer giver. So the proportion of a whole sample is always 1, we have understood. And since the whole either passed or failed, an item is P plus Q will always give you an equals to 1. So this is the same thing I have done. You can see ultimately they are totaling as 1. 0 0.43, 0 0.58, 0.29, 0.72, and 0.15. So the item which would be having the highest correct proportion would be having the less of the negative proportion or the incorrect proportion. That's okay for everyone.
Yes.
If I say the statement, the the item which has the highest incorrect answers would be having the least correct answers, or vice versa. It remains same. The next part is, because say the sigma pq, so it's done for us. Next part is calculate the percentage who failed by the formula, like 1 minus p or 1 minus the proportion who passed the item, and we'll get the same answer if we count upon the number of zeros for each item, like we all have done so far. The same pattern I have explained in written also. Okay, so you won't find it difficult to understand when you will doing it by yourself. The next is, now that we have P and Q. So as per the formula, you can see I have in every slide I have mentioned the formula for all of you to remember. So sigma PQ, that says summation of PQ, P into Q. So we have the PQ value, we have the QQ value, and you can have the summation of those PQQ value. And once we multiply P by Q, we need to add up these value to all of the items, the sigma, that is the add up. So that's what I have PQ. It's 0.245, 0.243, 0.205, 0.201, 0.127. And ultimately, I'll be doing the whole calculation, the summation, which was equals to 1.021. Okay, that's all also I have done for you, so it would be easy. Now what we have identified, we have the sigma PQ, right? We have this, we have K key value, K minus 1 also we have. So what is left with us? Hello, are you able to understand?
Sigma.
Yeah,
Deviation
sigma,
is
yeah, the variance. See, we have the K, the number of items ki value, we have got the sigma PQ also. So as per the formula, this variance is only the part which we have remained. So for the sigma square or the variance of the total test scores, so 1.069 we have identified. How I identified? You can easily do so in your Excel. The you can identify the variance over there by using the standard deviation like function in your Excel. The same pattern what I have done is calculating their total and then calculating the variance also. This is the sigma PQ value. Then putting the values in the formula. You can see the formula 5 divided by 5 minus 1, 1 minus 1.021 divided by 1.142, and this is the value of the internal consistency, that is 0.132. So though it is very less, because this was a hypothetical data and it won't be revealing a very good response, but I hope you are able to understand how you can do so this very basic mathematical calculation using Excel. Anyone problem or any doubt on this part? Hello. Is it clear to everyone? Is Scooter Richardson clear to you? KR20, KR20?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So this is what I wanted to discuss regarding the internal consistency. So we skipped two things. One was the parallel form and the other was the inter-rater or inter-observer reliability or the scorer reliability. So scorer reliability or the inter-rater or inter-observer reliability, it measures the degree to which the different observers give consistent estimates of the same person. Like you send your items to different people and then you will be asking them the rating. This is the same pattern how we see the dance shows, isn't it? They are judging as a panel. We do so, no? We watch it on TV. The certain panels would be giving marks. Oh, I like this much. I like this much, and then the total, whosoever is the highest total would be the winner. So in the same pattern, we do so in the inter-scorer or the scorer reliability. And it can be estimated by having a sample of tests independently scored by two or more examiners. So we usually do so. This is scorer reliability. Like for example, scorer reliability, if you go by for the projective test, it is usually is to be considered. Scorer reliability is considered for projective tests, tests of creativity, etc. You can identify over there. Then the parallel form reliability or an alternate form reliability, it measures the consistency of results of two parallel forms of same test which are constructed in the same way, like the having the for having the same level of difficulty, two tests measuring the same level of difficulty. Can any of you can give me an example of this parallel form or the alternate form reliability where it is being measured? An example of it from your psychological background or from your general background where this is being very popularly used, parallel forms.
Ma'am, in all the competitive exams, they might make sets. So
Correct.
all that sets are parallel forms only.
Okay, this is in the general regard. In psychological term, in psychological test where it is used, any of the tests you remember where these parallel forms were constructed?
I don't remember, ma'am, because parallel forms are constructing two similar forms is very difficult thing.
Tedious task also, but yes, we
Uh,
have example of this.
they used to do this, but
There is one, the Wonderlic test. I do not know whether you all know that. That has a form A and B. They're
Okay.
parallel forms. Wonderlic test of intelligence. We use it more in organizations to measure basically intelligence.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nimrit. Sukhsidhi has mentioned sex sentence completion test. Sukhsidhi, does it have two forms, three forms for the sex sentence completion test? I am not aware about this sentence completion test. I'm sorry. Uh, is anyone aware about this? The mentioned
Yes.
by Sukhsidhi. Yeah. So can you?
Sac sentence completion has no, but it has different, doesn't have form A and B, no. It has a different for children, for teenagers, and for adults. That's what I know of. I'm not sure of this.
No, I'm not aware about this sentence completion test of sex, Dr.
We can
Sex.
check this out. I think we
Yeah,
can check
yeah,
it out.
we need to check this out. Uh, okay. First one had first person sentence. Okay, so Sukhsidhi is explaining this in the chat section, which is known to me and known to all of us. You might have forgot is HSPQ, isn't it? HSPQ, High School Personality Questionnaire. Sukhsidhi, you are mentioning the first one had first person sentence and this other is having the another third person sentence. So then he received more emotions content on first person. Okay, Sukhsidhi, I'm really sorry. I need to check this out for this sex sentence completion test. Maybe you might be correct. We all can check this out. Okay, we all please all of you, please, I suggest to check this out, the sex sentence completion test. I'm not very sure. The example I'm giving you is of the HSPQ, that is, I hope you all are aware of. That is,
I think even
okay, thank you so
16,
much.
16 PF has na Form A, Form B. There are a number of
Yes,
forms. Even in 16, there's a shorter version. 16 PF
see,
also has that.
whenever the parallel form, it says the both the forms will be having the same level of difficulty. If this happens, even if not in the competitive exams, we all have faced our board examinations. In our board examination, we used to get set A, set B, set C, and set D, and each one of has the same level of difficulty to be maintained. They have same content. Okay, thank you so much, Sukhsiti. So yes, we will check this out. So this was all from my end for the part of the reliability. The other part to be discussed under the good psychological test characteristics is the objectivity. So what actually the objectivity is? Objectivity of a test means the degree to which it equally competents user to get the same results in scoring. So it is like not onto the part of subjectivity, it is on the other end of the objectivity. So Sukhsiti is mentioning regarding that only the framing of statements is different. Okay, so Sukhsiti has mentioned uh, that the statements in both the forms have the same content, only the framing of statements is different. Okay, so if it is being followed, Sukhsiti, then yes, it is a parallel form or alternate form example. That's true. Okay, if it is has had the same thing. Okay. So now let's come to objectivity. So objectivity test or objective test is what which we say that it is more universal, can be applied everywhere. It is free from the biases, it is free from the personal judgments. So it is independent of the subjective judgment. Basically, that's what the objectivity is talked about. So the aspects of objectivity, it have the two aspects. One is the objectivity of the item and objectivity of the scoring. For the objectivity of item, we say that it implies that item should be simple and we should be able to interpret them easily or clearly. See, sometimes it happens the ambiguous items are given, so it confuse on the both the ways, for the interpretation also and for the person who is conducting or administering. And objectivity of scoring is, it implies that the personal judgments of the score should not affect the score. Like in the very initial time of the class, we were discussing about the Clover system of scoring and the Exner system of scoring for the Rorschach. We were discussing about the Exner is on more part of the quantitative or the objective in nature, whereas the Clover is on the subjective part. So that's what we were discussing in the initial time of the class also. So scoring uh, can be in, for the subjective part, can be least reliable if we talk in the context of the quantification, whereas when we have the objectivity, we rely more on the part where the subjectives are not to have like cofer to have cofer, one has to has the quantitative portions. Okay, the quantitative proportions. Okay, oh, yes, Sukhsidi. So let's so yeah, objectivity of test is closely related to the reliability of the test, like we have discussed already this in the earlier slides. So it is consistency of scores, but objectivity is consistency among different scores in assigning scores to answers on a test. So consistency is more on the in the context of objectivity, is how much the scores are being assigned on each of the tests. It is, so it can be as an inter-scorer reliability that we have discussed earlier as well. So objectivity is as a term which we discuss. And the last part, like I've discussed, for the tool to be standardized, it should be having the reliability validity norms. So the norms is, we all know, so according to Thorndike and Hagen, though the norms would be discussed in detail in the upcoming unit of ours of the fourth unit, but just having a small theoretical approach of norms. So norms are the constituents frames of the references for the interpretation of test scores. So norms are basically the rules. Like even in the society we do have certain norms, like you are not supposed to break the traffic rules. When there is a red light you need to stop, when there is green light you are supposed to go. So there are certain norms, this and uh, do this, do not. Each institute have their certain norms, certain rules are to be practiced. In the same pattern we do construct norms, we do estimate norms for the particular test, and they are usually designed to serve dual purposes. Like first, it indicates individuals relative standing in the normative sample and permits an evaluation of performance in reference to others, because that's how we compare each other. If we have a norm of like in our class test, usually we used to have not 100 ka score, and we used to calculate our percentage, and then we got to know I scored 60%, you scored 70%. So you are able to compare that who is higher on the part or who has topped the class. So it is one is you, it is giving you your standing, like where you are standing. If there are 10 students, and on what number you are standing in that, in that area. And also it helps you to evaluate your capacity, your performance, and your ability. And they provide comparable measures for direct comparison of the individual's performance on different tests. So it used to happen with us na, ki some students might have only 5 subjects, and some like in class 12th, if you go by the recent changes in the class 12th examinations. So now there is, like when I used to study, or might be you were there in your class 12, we used to have 6 subjects, and from those 6 subjects were our like the total percentage were used to be calculated. But now, and those 6 subjects would be our major subjects, but now onwards it's like any 5 subjects in which the child has scored highest. So it is all about the highest total of the 5 scores in which the child has scored higher. So you are able to compare the person who has scored from the 5 subject, the person who has scored from the 6 subjects, because we are measuring from the percentage. So what we are doing with the help of norms, we are placing 2 different perspectives on the same ground to evaluate. So this is what the norms helps us to understand. The other characters, like in the initially we discussed about the characters related to the errors, and the other is characteristics related to usability. So for the part of the usability, so of a test which depends on the following factors. The first is the ease of the administration. So the how much the comfort of the administration is providing, it related to the handling of the manuals, the queries, etc., etc., are given, is the first need of a test to be having as a good characteristic. The other is the ease of scoring. If you find out a test is having very difficult scoring, whereas there are very least chances that you will be administering again and again, or you will be recommending it, or you will be utilizing it in the future, because scoring is important part of our testing. And if it is not very of comfort or not too very easy to use, we usually having the slackness in that area. Then the ease of interpretation, how well the test we are able to interpret in the regard, again talks about the interpretation, the easiness of the interpretation. Other one is the economy. Obviously the cost effective is one of the concern while you are doing certain researches. Yes, the cost is majorly we focus on whether the test is coming in our budget or not. The economy of time. So a good test should be economical from the point of time required as well. So if a test is very long, like if I discuss about the MMPI, so what do you think about the MMPI, usability of MMPI? We have discussed in earlier classes also. So MMPI, what do you think? The MMPI 2, which is in current use, what do you think? How readily you are supposed to use MMPI 2, and how much it will take time? Yeah, 562 items are too many. 562 items, are you sure, Sukhsiddhi? It has 562 items, MMPI 2, or you have reduced a little items? Can anyone? Nobody is so sure on the. Acha, who constructed this MMPI?
There is one MMPI 2RF.
Yes, sir. MMPI to RS also is there. Okay, so I use the short version. Okay, so Siddhi, okay, you have used. I am talking about MMPI 2, which usually takes what I have studied so far is usually we do in two settings. Like you are not able to do so in a one setting because even if whatever the number of items, the 500, more than 500 items, it's too much for us. So if it is consuming so much of time, and it becomes very difficult for us to administer it with a client or a subject, because the client won't be having that much of time to sit. And the other part is the interesting. If the test you are prepared have no sort of interest or is not able to generate interest, then the person might get bored and will not fill it for you properly. So yeah, that was all from my end for the class today. I hope you were able to understand the concept of reliability and the part. So my question, one question I want, a fatigue effect. Yes, Sukhsidi, you were right. So before we end up our class for today, I have a small question to all of you. Uh, like I guess you all be able to answer. Uh, if a test is reliable, is it necessary to be valid? Or if a test is a valid, it is necessary to be reliable? What do you think about this? Yes, everyone. Shall I repeat my question? If a test is reliable, is it necessary to be valid? Or if a test is a valid, is it necessary to be reliable?
Um, yeah. If a test can be reliable and not valid. For example, like very simple example is reliability is basically like getting the same answers whenever you are administering it. So any test can be like one test can be reliable, uh, but it is can be unvalid, like not valid as well, uh, for whatever we are purporting to do. So for example, we are suppose saying that this is an intelligence test, and some questions we are asking, okay, for testing the intelligence. The that test can be reliable and giving the same, when we are administering it is getting us the same answers, we are getting the same answers, but so in that way it can be reliable, but it is not, the reliability does not ensure the validity of the test. Ma'am, you are on mute.
Oh, sorry. So if I would say, Sukhsiti has mentioned the test can be reliable and will not be valid, vice versa. Sukhsiti, for you, if a test is valid, not necessary to be reliable. So she has mentioned, like COFR has reliability issues, but it is valid. Most projective assessments like DAP 2 have. Acha, okay. So what do you think about the test? If a test is valid, has this issue? Okay, Sukhsiti. So if a test is valid, it is not necessary to be reliable. हाँ Anjali, you answered for a test to be reliable, not necessary to be
Yeah.
valid. Okay, I
uh,
understood. But
what
what about if a test is a valid? It is not reliable. It is not necessary to be reliable.
there can be like levels of like different levels of reliability as we measure. If a test is valid, if we are saying it is valid,
Hmm.
uh, and it is correctly valid, then it will be like the reliability will be there. That's what I understand.
Acha, chalo. Let's. You
Fine.
all have read this example in your books also, and in my previous like classes of applied psychometrics, I have asked this question. We have a clock. You have read this example of clock.
Yeah, the clock one. Yeah,
Clock
valid and
example.
reliability
Valid
and
reliability and validity. Then what will you say, Anjali, if you have know the example? Let me frame the question for all those who have not read about this. So it says if a clock, because reliability is the consistency of scope. So clock is a reliable and a valid measure. He says that because it is measuring the time and the reliable also. It is giving you the consistent score. What if our clock is 5 minutes late? Will it be a reliable? Will it be a valid tool? So that was the question I was supposed to ask you. What do you think? Either give the answer in the class or you will be finding this question in your assignment
I think,
also.
yeah, that again, the validity will not also ensure the reliability. For example, if the clock is saying that that it is measuring the time or it is telling us the time, but it uh, again, sorry, I got confused again. But like, is it possible that it is not reliable, or so? For example, a weighing machine is saying
Okay.
that it is measuring the weight,
Hmm.
but due to some internal this dysfunctioning in the machine, it can say that, like, it can give us different different measure, like it is saying the same object, it is giving different weights of the same object in different times, like the test retest reliability is not there with the weighing machine. So so will
See,
that be called
so
valid?
this,
that that is
I
my
don't know. This
confusion.
is the question you have in your assignment. I don't know any of the answer. I just have put forth the question to all of you for the brainstorming purpose. And by tomorrow 8 a.m. you will find the assignment and having the same question with you all. So this was again a small hint to you that the question you are getting, it will be valid but not reliable. Sukhsiti is saying it will be valid but not reliable. Okay,
Ma'am,
so
all valid tests are reliable.
Varsha is coming with something. Okay, so all valid tests are reliable. How? Again, my clock question comes in your place. My valid to is
Ma'am,
that
if
clock?
I say a clock question,
Hmm.
suppose that clock was in America, okay, so that gave you 5 minutes late time. So that was, the time was correct there. Validity talks about the thing which we are measuring. We are measuring time. So
Hmm.
that clock is giving me time everywhere, whether I keep it in America or India or anywhere, it is
Hmm.
giving me time. Okay. Now reliability is every time when I see that thing, it should come the same. Yes. So
Okay.
so when it is at 7 o'clock, it will give you the 7 o'clock time only. It will not become a 6 o'clock time there. So it is
Okay.
becoming a reliable thing there. Yes. If now if I compare that with a different place clock, then it will become different timing. Okay.
Okay.
The reliability thing will not come.
Okay.
I
Anyone
I have
else?
a
But my
yeah,
question, one question is, ma'am, my question is that,
I
Uh-huh.
also sorry, Varsha, sorry.
Please,
you
please.
complete it. My
No, no,
question,
actually, the same thing which you are saying is, I also like remember kind of something that, but I cannot answer that. Like, we need to read. But the question, the confusion which I have is, like, in the same example, if suppose weighing machine is there and it is saying that it is measuring weight, so it is measuring weight only, but the same thing, like if suppose
if
due to
it
some
is a mountain,
dysfunction it is
we
not.
measure it, it will give a different measurement.
Yeah,
Okay.
every time you are standing on it, it will is giving different this thing. So yeah. So how will that be? So I think that that will not be called valid if the reliability is not there. Like, we cannot rely on that machine. It is giving different things, so different values for the same object's weight. So it will not be
No,
called valid
see, when
also.
things are reliable, it is not necessary that they are always measuring the same
Yeah,
thing.
that's what. But when we are saying
When the,
valid,
when the
then
thing
it
we
will be
talk about
reliable.
valid, we are talking about only one thing. So reliability always comes to it. Now, why it comes to it, I have to find an answer to that.
Ah,
Okay.
that same
Not
thing.
read that part of the thing. I've not thought it that way. Okay. So my question to you was this question only. Why do we always say that when the thing is valid, why it becomes reliable? Or I should put it like this, if we say we find the construct of what test we have constructed, if we find that test to be valid, do we do reliability test also? Because what literature says that validity, if validity is there, it becomes reliable. Okay, so do we really do it? Because ideally standardized tests require to show both the things. So ideally both the things should be done. Then what is the purpose of saying that valid test is reliable? That is my question.
So before we need to understand the area of validity and reliability in the context of psychological tests, let's understand in the terms of our general human nature. If I say, uh, if I say reliability in general is about the trusting, right? You trust, and validity, whom a person you will call a valid, who is authenticated by someone, right? Why in the very first place you trust me? If I ask you, why in the very first place you trust me, or why in the very first place you find me a valid person? Tell me.
Valid person because uh, I will
I
say
am teaching you what I am supposed to teach.
no. Maybe because sir has brought up somebody whom he knows that that person can deliver the right thing.
Valid, right?
Is
Because
valid.
when we find out things which has the authenticity, we purchase things by just checking that ISI mark,
Hmm.
है ना? Because it is a valid product, you purchase it, and ultimately we tend to think that it will be giving us the same result, and
Yes.
we try to rely on that. We have the trust on that. Ultimately when a person, so you will trust me. If I would have a somebody, like I was not associated with sir or not associated with RPRIT, if I would be a person who is coming as a randomly, though I am telling you the correct thing, will you be able to trust me until and unless I have would have showing you, no, I have the authority to tell you this, that you need to vacate this place or anything else? You
Hmm.
won't trust me. The trusting would be there, but you won't find, अरे पता नहीं, though we trusted the person, पता नहीं, but वो person authorized था कि नहीं था, valid था कि नहीं था, होता है, it happens with us.
Yes.
This is this general human thing we do in the very basic, in the human nature you can understand. Now when we talk about the psychological test, yes, we do go for the reliability testing and for the validity testing. It says that the valid test usually comes with the reliability, or a valid measure is supposed to be reliable, because for a test to be valid, because it is supposed to measure what the construct it is measuring, and ultimately to measure this construct, we discuss about it in the internal consistency reliability. Remember the content validity and the internal consistency, the
Hmm.
same part you discussed, you only mentioned the part.
Hmm.
So when we talk about those part, we always says the items should be related, interrelated to each other, the internal consistency part. So when a part which is discussing all about the personality, the test is supposed to measure the personality, and all the items are supposed to be in general to be related to each other, only to measure the personality. You cannot bring in a question one which is asking for the intelligence and other is asking for the learning disability and then asking the question related to personality. Then the test won't be giving you valid and not ultimately giving you the reliability. Then there would be no set of internal consistency in that. But in the same pattern, you can check it out if they are giving, like if the test is not valid, but will be can give you the same scores every time.
Hmm.
If like the clock example again, if a clock is faulty, if a clock is 5 minutes late, after an hour it will again show you the time 5 minutes late only. Like if my clock is showing 9:05, so after 1 hour it will be showing 10:05, though the real time is 10:10, right? The consistency would be there, will be maintained. The scores, even if the item, even if the test is faulty, the scores which is generated on that would be giving the consistency. But when a test becomes valid, because the measure it is measuring, then ultimately it brought about the internal consistency of the items. Then only the test becomes the valid now. That's how we say the valid comes with the reliability, but not the vice versa, I say. Okay.
Yes.
So I guess we have some of have left the meeting already. Oh, got it. Thank you so much. Yeah, of teaching good always, consistency of teaching good always. Got it. Thank you. Oh, okay, Sukhsiddhi. That was a remark for me. Okay. Thank you so much everyone for joining. Farah, is there anything from your end? Shall we conclude?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining. We'll be meeting next on Wednesday, and then we'll be discussing on the construction of questionnaire and then talking about the norms. Let's see how far we can go because I need to wind up the classes in the coming days. So, yeah, that was all from my end. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Bye bye. Take care.